Hillary's rollout was about as spontaneous as open-heart surgery, with all the looseness of your bank's pre-recorded menu. Press 1 for eye contact.
We do one thing in 8th grade. We bring in
Press 2 for sip. Press 3 for tilt head, nod, and smile. And press 4 to force a laugh. Oh, I love her. And let's not forget Sunday's video. If you blinked, you'd miss her appearance.
I'm getting ready to do something, too. I'm running for president. Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
See, they hid her till the very end, just like Norman Bates' mother. Then there was this thing later where she nodded and smiled like an animatronic in a country bear jamboree. The guests were vetted and driven by the staff, which is why they appeared to be serving detention. It was more staged than My Fair Lady. All this to portray her as soft, authentic. But her actions are as real as Travolta's hair. Her family story doesn't match public records. She won't take reporter questions because she knows what they'll be. The email scandal. That's the toilet paper stuck on her shoe. So the media has no choice but to chase after her like fat kids, swarming the free samples at Costco.
Terrible.
My advice to Hill, enough with the soft. You gotta go hard. You gotta be yourself. Embrace it. You're not a lovable granny. You're the Upper East Side socialite who feeds mice to her Pekingese. You're the stingy celebrity at a spa retreat complaining about leaves in the infinity pool. You know the names of the help, and it's the help. Your facial expression always seems to say, who are you and where's security? But so what? We should be okay with that kind of Hillary. After years of desperately seeking world approval from idiots, I wouldn't mind a jerk. Better to be a grizzly than Winnie the Pooh. All right, Juan, I'm going to go to you first because you're Juan.
And welcome back,
wonderful.
Juan.
Thank you.
How is her rollout so far from your perspective? Kind of weird?
No, kind of low key. I mean, this is what she needs. I mean, everybody thinks. I mean, by the way, I really like what you did there. I thought that was great about Norman Bates' mom. I just hope the audience gets it because I love that Psycho movie. But anyway, you can imagine her, upstairs, in the living room, all shrunken and dead. She's been around forever. It's old. She's not new. I picked it up. I got it.
No. What my point was, they kept her to the very end, like you do in horror movies.
Well, it was like a heart. I got it. I said I liked it. But anyway, but I think in terms of the politics of it, I think that she actually is doing well because I think what she wants to do is not say anything that Greg Gutfeld could mock. And she hasn't said a word. Has she said one policy position? No.
But she's evading.
She's just putting on a show. Yes, I agree. She's evading.
She's running from the facts, Eric. Let's talk about facts. Let's roll what she has to say about her family background, which she did, I think, yesterday in Iowa. I don't know.
All my grandparents, came over here, and my grandfather went to work in a lace mill in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and worked there until he retired at 65. He started when he was a teenager and, just kept going. So I sit here and I think, well, you're talking about the second, third generation. That's me. Right. That's you.
Yeah. Eric, how damaging is this horrible lie about her past?
No more damaging than we were broke. What difference does it make at this point? The no tip at the Chipotle, I'm parking the servers, burning the servers, I park in handicap park. It goes on and on. The question to Juan would be, is that all you got? This is all you have? Now, I get $2.5 billion buys something, but man, can you imagine all those people investing in that campaign?
By the way, I'm not supposed to help you, but let me just help you a second.
All right, thanks.
You know that story in the morning papers about her foundation? She's still going to take money from foreign governments? Yeah. What is going on here?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
There's a lot more strings to be pulled at that sweater.
But she's for the middle class, and she's for women and children, but she's part of a foundation that is taking money from countries that stone women and gays to death.
Yeah, I'm just not very comfortable with the
there is financial, financial hypocrisy there. And so, who are you? You're telling us one thing, but you do another. So there's no credibility.
Dana, you have a book coming out in which you tell people how to present themselves. What do you think she's doing? Is she connecting or is she disconnecting? How's that for a question?
She's so far away from everyday America that on her campaign she is trying to reinvent what it means to be normal.
Right.
And I feel like the fakery is it's hard to take. It's like she's running the Truman Show campaign where everything is going to be perfect. And you look at it from the outside and go, this can't possibly be perfect. But I go back to, it doesn't really matter for her, right? So the Democrats don't really have another option.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really have to do anything. As long as her poll numbers hold fairly steady for the next year, she gets the Democratic nomination, and then I suppose she'll unleash the $2.5 billion, and it would be amazing shock and awe.
Mm-hmm. You know, Eric, you mentioned briefly that she might have been parking in a handicap zone. We found this on Twitter. I don't know if she did it or if it was a Secret Service, but they parked and maybe just to drop her off. But I think this is enough for a pre-impeachment. Put pre-impeachment right now. So once she's elected, impeach her.
All right, so for some reason, that television network won't let us roll that video, and I don't know why, but it's really interesting. Because if you watch it, she gets out of the van. Mm-hmm. She does her thing, and she comes back out and gets back into the van. Now, if you're in that van, she literally walks past that sign right there that's a handicap sign. If you're in the van and you're running for president, don't you say to whoever's driving, hey, Scoob, or whoever, Shaggy, keep going, don't park here, because this is going to look really bad if we park in a handicap?
What's worse is that there was somebody already parked there.
You mean they pushed the handicap
right over it?
You know what?
It's horrible.
It was Granny. It was Granny. The same Granny that got pushed over the cliff. She was there, and they pushed. I must tell you, though, I think there are too many handicap spaces in America.
Wow.
I do. I think I go to the movie.
Really just say
I can't believe
what happens when people sit in these chairs.
I
ruin your life.
Too many of them.
Just ruin
But anyway,
your
don't you
life.
think there are too many? Have you ever been to the mall?
That is
Take it back.
You know, people have said that, but let's just move on. Some people have said that. Juan was merely pointing that out, and he disagrees completely.
Yes,
there's been a lot of talk about her evading the media for various reasons, one of them being the email scandal. Here's Ed Henry on HRC dodging the press.
The media is collectively allowing Hillary Clinton's campaign to kick off much differently than what we've seen on the Republican side. We were penned off behind those boxes and near the boxes and pallets back there. And when reporters started shouting questions about same-sex marriage, the email controversy, she simply ignored it and then walked out. That's much different than Marco Rubio earlier this week doing the Fox interview, but also NPR, ABC. Rand Paul recently announcing and then doing the interviews with Fox and NBC Savannah Guthrie that got quite testy, pushing him on various issues.
There's boxes and boxes everywhere, Dana.
I think those are the emails. All that printed out from the server. I guess we could find them there. She'll say, they'll never look here.
Yeah, hide in plain sight, I always say. What do you make of Ed Henry?
Ed Henry personally?
Yes.
Just kidding. I love Ed Henry. I think that, I don't know how long this listening tour is going to go on for Hillary Clinton. It's sort of an interesting thing that you would think that before you announce for president, you would do the listening tours.
Yeah.
I think that while she's out there trying to do this every day, it's so fake. It really is bordering on ridiculous. I don't think they'll keep it going for all that much longer. I think she is going to have to do some interviews. There are some big issues brewing on the Democratic side. One of them in particular is on free trade, because the environmentalists and the unions are putting a lot of pressure on the Democrats, in particular on Obama, and Hillary Clinton is right in the middle. She has to decide what kind of a Democrat is she? Is she a Bill Clinton kind of person on free trade, or an Obama, or an Elizabeth Warren? And there's some big issues that I think, forget what the rest of us think about in America, but what do the Democrats want out of her? She's been running for 14 years, and we still don't know. I don't think this listening to her is going to satisfy those voters.
Good point. You know, KG...
well, it shows they don't have the confidence in their own candidate because they don't feel that she's capable to keep the momentum going, make the right comments, and kind of convey the right emotion and affect. So
I mean, it's impossible for
them not to hear from her.
I think what they would love is for the campaign to look so smooth that they never have a mess up. But candidates like to see people like to see candidates that can take a punch. Like, how are you going to deal with adversity? The White House is not going to be a smooth ship. So how do you deal with it?
Want somebody to punch Hillary?
No, of course not. Metaphorically.
Or how about one question from the press?
Yeah.
How about all these little sit downs and cafes and restaurants and auto mechanic shops. There are 3 or 4 people who are selected to sit with her.
Right.
And allegedly Planned Parenthood is there.
It'd be funny if the reporters,
Obama advisors are there.
Yeah, people who've worked on campaigns.
You know how the news organizations could actually get back to them is they could band together and just say, we're not covering these.
Yeah.
I know, but staged events, we're just not going to do it.
They're not going to do it.
They fall over themselves.
Be courageous. Freedom of the press.
They might do it. I think that the editors and publishers could do it.
You say she doesn't get any tough questions. She doesn't get any punches. Gosh, Benghazi, you guys have been all over her.
Lines, they have the press. Push back.
No, Dana's point was we don't want to see how she reacts when she stumbles, when she has a flaw revealed. How does the candidate respond? Is she able to get back up off the mat? But of course, Hillary Clinton's done all that repeatedly, and in fact, infuriated the right because she says stuff like, "What's the big deal?"
No. But you see, part of the problem is, Ron,
what difference does it make you so much?
Since she announced in the week or whatever, 5 days since she announced, she's moved on a couple of key points. She moved on gay marriage, and she's moved on Wall Street and some campaign finance stuff. She's moved, but no one can ask her that because the press is way over there. Her little table with her 3 people there.
It doesn't matter at this point. The key point, and this speaks to what Dana was talking about. Do the American people feel like she's out there fighting for their vote? Is she putting herself on the line? Is she demonstrating fire in the belly? And I think for a lot of people, to see Hillary Clinton, the great doyen of Chappaqua, or however you say that. Chappaqua. That she would get in the van and drive to Iowa. People like this stuff.
Let's move on. Let's
I don't think so.
talk about the other GOP candidates. There are a couple of people that have talked about them today. Harry Reid had some interesting words, as did Chris Christie. So we put it together into a SOT sandwich.
Oh, my God. That got weird.
How do you see the Republican fight? Who's the Republican nominee likely to be?
I don't really care. I think they're all losers.
I think a governor is going to be the nominee, a governor or a former governor. Because I believe that our party and our country needs someone who's actually run something. And while I have great respect for a number of those folks, I don't believe that we've done well with the experiment of a one-term U.S. senator being president of the United States.
Dana, pick whoever you want. You want Reid?
Well, Harry Reid is proving a point that I make in my book that's out next week.
Oh, really?
Yes, so like that.
What's it called?
It is called, and the good news is Harry Reid is no longer going to be in the Senate. Yeah. He is the most destructive person on civility in Washington. And again, here's another point. Why is it that Republicans seem to have to own everybody else's comments? What does Hillary Clinton think about what Harry Reid has said? What does she think about Harry Reid using his position on the Senate floor to suggest that the Republican candidate Mitt Romney hadn't paid taxes and then admits that he lied about it? I mean, what does she think about that?
That's a good question, but she won't answer it. What do you make of Christie saying it has to be a governor, basically saying it's either me and 2 other guys?
Or when I first heard that, I'm like, well, is he vying for a VP spot? Maybe that's where he's going. Maybe he's seeing Jeb as a presidential candidate and Christie as a VP, which I think would be a huge mistake. If you're going to do that, then Jeb, if he were the presumptive candidate, would maybe look at Kasich. Then you have Florida and Ohio covered. That might be tougher to beat than
what I thought
Florida
was cute was
Jersey.
Christie said, picking up on your point, Christie said, we're going to need a governor, but we need a governor who's had to deal with the Democrats in the legislature. And, Scott Walker, he's got a Republican legislature. Jeb Bush had a Republican. Jim Dowley had a Republican legislature. Who's left?
Clever, very clever, Juan.
I'm telling you. By the way, who had the idea to interview Chris Christie in an ice cream parlor? Oh, my God.
Well, it's very folksy. Because somebody already did Chipotle, so you've got to go down the list.
Chipotle. Do you know that Hillary Clinton did not leave a tip in the tip jar? Pre-impeachment.
Is that right?
Pre-impeachment.
And you'd leave tips at Chipotle?
Yes. I leave something at Chipotle.
Hillary Clinton's excited that Harry Reid is playing for her team, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't want him smearing her. And as for Chris Christie, again, a competent man. But there's another governor in the race, too, and another governor in the race, so let's see.
All right. Let's see indeed.
Indeed.